is going on, smart movers? If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the Strizzy Report and also subscribe to the sister channel, really the main channel, but I gotta kind of start here first, right? Smart Movers Club. You can find us on YouTube as well. SmartMoversClub.com is where we have the newsletter sign up, where you can get a free weekly newsletter. I send it out on Fridays, telling you the entire story of the macroeconomic shifts for the week. Why do I do that? If you have money to move or money to make, this is important information. Why? Because let the big boys do the heavy lifting. Let them go to a place, let them build the industrial parks, let them dig the dirt in the ground, and then here you come as an investor, small developer. Even if you want to stay on top of what's happening, where it's happening, for stock reasons and things like that for your investment, this is great information. So I have all the data coming in, plugging in, and I want to share it with you 3 times a week here on this channel. But I would prefer that everyone go subscribe to Smart Movers Club as well on YouTube. So I'll drop that right in here too. So let's get started today and see what we're seeing in the past week here for economic shifts. In fact, let's start with just today's news and we could go from there. Let's get right into it. Target leadership change. All right. So Target is going through a huge change right now. Target named Chief Operating Officer Michael Fiddelke as the next CEO, taking over from Brian Cornell on February 1, 2026. So that change is coming. The company says Fiddelke will focus on merchandising, store experience, and tech execution. So here's another thing, hyperscale data centers. As I mentioned in my last newsletter, again, if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe at smartmoversclub.com. What we're seeing now is the manufacturing game is not building bolts and machinery and things output. They're data centers, right? They're huge, especially in like the Phoenix, Arizona area. We're seeing the entire desert being rebuilt as data center hubs. But let's go with what we got. We got 2 giant AI campuses in Mississippi. We got AVA.io Digital will build a $6 billion AI-ready campus in Brandon. Okay, first phase targets is 2027 delivery. State officials call it one of the largest projects in Mississippi history. So if you're close to Brandon, you're gonna start seeing some stark changes. If you're thinking about going to Mississippi, I would look around this area because they're going to do all the heavy lifting. They have to kind of shake hands with the local state, making sure that the infrastructure is supported by housing, things of that nature. What is going on in Brandon? So take a deeper look down there. In Texas, Vantage Data Centers unveiled Frontier, okay? A $25 billion 1.4 gigawatt campus in Shackleford County. That's in Texas. But check this out. If you got data centers, right? Let's try to use the context here and talk about it. If you got data centers, what does it use? AI uses a lot of power, generates a lot of power, needs a lot of power, it needs a lot of electricity. So we got to think about power. When we think about data centers as well and infrastructure that develops and supports data centers, we have to think about power. So here in Texas, Vantage Data Centers unveiled Frontier, $25 billion. It's largest ever in Shackleford County, with thousands of constructions and operation jobs tied to AI demand. So there it is. Why does that matter? Compute heavy campuses pull vendors, right? Power upgrades, like I mentioned, and nearby flex industrial demand. Yeah, that's your final mile. That's your having your office spaces. All the infrastructure that supports just this one build or this huge build usually comes right around it. All right, so let's talk about used cars here. Used cars are going e-commerce. Hertz just partnered with Amazon Autos to sell used vehicles online. Launch markets covers areas around Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, and Seattle, with expansion planned across 45 Hertz cars, the sales location. So that's a big news because Hertz partnering with Amazon. Now they're right there on AmazonAuto.com. You could go ahead and search. Now you could buy cars from Hertz right online. Office, let's go to the next headline here. Off-price retail strength, TJX, that's TJ Maxx, parent of TJ Maxx, right? TJX Companies, beat expectations and raised its full-year profit outlook as values shopping stays strong. People are in the value places, the Marshalls, the TJ Maxxes, no longer going to the big mall, no longer going to... Why? Because consumer spending and consumer spending debt, people have to shop value now. So they beat expectations and raise its full year profit. Let's keep it moving. Government projects. We got 2 new solicitations going on. The Marine Corps Recruit Depot in Paris Island, design, bid, build for new recruit barracks. That's out right now. Also, the Naval Medical Center in Portsmouth, their storefront door replacement, small bit. Like I said, I have all the information coming. So government projects, whether small or large, I have it on the dashboard. So I like to just give it to you straight. Let's talk about the Port of Alaska modernization. NOAA issued a 5-year authorization covering marine mammal impacts during the cargo terminal's replacement work at the Don Young Port of Alaska. Another green light for that long runway project, okay? Real estate transactions in Houston. Naval Office sold 3555 Timmins, a 227,000. Let's put that in perspective. The address is 3555 Timmins. It's a 227 and 64 square foot, 15-story building. They sold it to who? To DML Capital. JLL arranged the financing. JLL is huge in the financing space, in the building space. You see a lot of buildings with the JLL insignia on it. That's a huge deal right there. Whoever made that deal, made it happen. That's a huge deal. But look into DML Capital. What else do they have on their books? All right, fintech feature. Okay, PenFed Credit Union rolled out mobile cash deposits at retail stores via barcode in its app, useful for cash-heavy members. So that's a little feature that just came out. But let's talk about the action steps here, smart movers, for today's roundup. If you operate in Texas or Mississippi, you got to scout these 10 to 40,000 square foot flex near those AI campuses. Prioritize power, loading, and vendor access, okay? Track federal solicitations and pre-bid meetings for near-term contracting work. If you're a contractor, I was going to say, because I have so much projects pumping in, the government's put out so much solicitation projects, I was just going to put a little blurb in my newsletter just for that, in case you're a contractor, you're in construction, you're in rehabbing, you're in whatever field. Maybe you're in IT work, whatever you are, there's so much solicitation coming through right now. There's currently $220 billion, and that's just in the last, I think I rolled it back to the last year of just awarded bids that were awarded. So, here we go. So subscribe to the smartmoversclub.com, subscribe to the newsletter, subscribe. It's a 5-minute read in a weekly newsletter that I send to your email, spam free. We cut the bullshit out. There's no spam on those, but it's a direct line, right? So all of this information, we put it into context and kind of see how we can move smarter. I learned this method from 2 people. Trammell Crow is one of them. If you don't know who he is, look it up. If you're in Dallas, I'm sure you know who he is. If you're in Texas, period, I'm sure you know who he is. He has passed away. He wrote a great book, The Master Builder. Well, an autobiographer wrote the book. He didn't write it. But basically, Trammell Crow looks at these. What he was good for was looking at the macroeconomic shifts, where people are going, what businesses are doing, what the industrial markets are saying, right? What the federal government is putting their funds in, what's going to be the next thing, not what's happening now. It's more of an anticipatory kind of way of investing. We always fall behind the line waiting for the thing to happen, and then we're like, oh shit, we should put our money in that, or we should invest. No, I want to give the data early as they come. Once it's filed in SEC, once the Federal, Reserve tells me something, I want to give it to you, because it makes sense when you look at the data to say, okay, you know what, Texas looks good, Mississippi looks good. For even relocation, like basic relocation, you want to go where the money is already going, where it's going to be. You don't want to have to work backwards on that. You want to make it an easy transition. So again, go to smartmoversclub.com, and I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed in the newsletter. It's a quick read, 5-minute read, and I'm so happy that you are watching this. Again, subscribe to this channel, our sister channel, smartmoversclub.com. Peace.